Hey, what's up guys? Kane here with XBLA fans, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. Today we're going to talk about Pennant Race in Super Mega Baseball 2. Now this is kind of their premier online competitive game mode, and right now we're kind of in the early stages of it, so you can tell they've got a lot of different things they're going to be changing up a little bit as time goes on. In fact, I've been kind of researching what they've been talking about on Reddit, and you'll see a lot of that getting talked about. So as you can see, they're going to have different divisions, a lot like other games have, you know, bronze, silver, gold, except obviously here they're going a little bit more toward the baseball terms. There's some standard rules, you know, like, okay, if you get up by 10, you know, you can 10 run rule a guy. After 20 runs, they kind of kill the game just because they don't want it to turn into a complete slog. I can tell you I have gone 11 innings in a game, so it is humanly possible if the two of you are just doing that well where you're matching each other pitch for pitch. Because believe it or not, that was not actually a nothing game. That was the crazy part. But I will tell you some of the things that you're probably wanting to know about this. And some of them are not exactly the best answers right now, but that's just kind of where we're at. So as it is now, the ego that you are playing at is going to be kind of determined based on what you put in when you started the game. And it is also going to, move up and down depending specifically on those placement matches that you do early on. During those games, your online ego will fluctuate pretty dramatically. Now, they're trying to limit this, and they're going to try to make it so that it doesn't jump by a large amount from one game to the next. I can tell you now that things for me have not really jumped very much. I have probably fluctuated between 75 and 85 for my online ego. I think that's the lowest I've ever been, and I think that's the highest I've ever been. So at least for me, that wasn't too much of a jump. Obviously, there's some bugs with the game. That right there is one of the most frustrating things that can happen. And that's one of the things that they're going to be fixing. And, every once in a while, something just dumb happens, like what just happened. And it's one of those things where you just got to try to not get tilted by it. It happens. You just got to move on. Every once in a while, you'll have a game where either you win because of a DC or, you lose because of a DC. Again, the game is still pretty early on, and it is having a little bit of issues with this. And that's completely different from all the rage quits you're going to see online, because there are a lot of people who will quit really quickly into games. But as it goes, I'm playing at 80 ego. That does not mean that the guy I'm playing is playing at 80 ego. I would say this is by far my biggest problem with this game mode, is the fact that it does not seem to reward people playing at higher egos in any means. So for me, I'm kind of like, why am I playing at this high in ego? I would rather just play at 50 and smash everyone. Like if that's what they're doing. it just seems a little dumb. I mean, at its core, I understand what their thought process was. Their thought process was, we want to create balanced online games where, it feels like every single game is honestly close to a toss-up on who can win it. And I would say they've done an okay job at that on some elements. I mean, there are occasionally games where you will tell the guy you're playing against has never played the game in his life. This right here is a good example of just, I don't know if he was showboating or what, but he just screws up royally. And it's just a perfect example of what I'm talking about of, there are people out there who just don't really get the basics yet. In fact, I've played a game on stream yesterday where I had literally every single out against this guy. I struck him out every time but one. So he only was able to make contact once. So I don't know if he was playing at high ego. I don't know if he was playing at low ego or just bad. But, I mean, it's kind of a bummer the fact that ego does not seem to match up. And the other big issue I was having with the game at the moment is the fact that, at least at the moment, I guess we're all technically in junior division. So this may change when they actually do place people into divisions. But it does seem kind of dumb that someone can be rated 2,500. Like, someone in my stream is telling me they're rated 2,500, but they're playing at 50 ego. Which, to me, that's kind of crap. If they're playing at that low of an ego, they should not be ranked higher than people winning at, a higher ego. Like, it just seems weird that, like, as you progress, the way it seems like it should work is you have, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, whatever. And you have clear ego standards for these, If you want to play at the lower levels, you put yourself in that bronze division and you play around 15. You know, if you want to play at the next one, you play around 30. Next one around 50. Next one around, or 60, I don't know. You know, and then eventually 80 and maybe even 99 if you want to get crazy with it. But to me, it seems like as you progress, the ego should have to go up. It shouldn't be as gradual as it seems like it has been, because the guy I was talking to last night was just telling me about the fact that he's just absolutely murking everybody. But it's largely because he's playing at such a low ego that it's just so easy to hit. You know, like if I was getting to play all my games around 50 ego, we'd be talking about like, you know, 15 home runs in 3 innings every time, you know? So it definitely changes up how you play based on what level you're playing at. And right now, this game mode is not very balanced. This is some of the stuff that Metalhead has talked about trying to address over time. Largely, some of this was hard, you know, to kind of balance just off the beta. And it's something that they're going to hopefully be able to do now that they have a better understanding of what the size of their online player base is going to be. Because obviously, you know, like I'm sitting here saying, like, I want to play against people at 80 ego, but maybe there's one other player at 80 ego and everyone else is playing at 60. And at the end of the day, I want to play against people more than I want to play against people at 80 ego. So, you know, like, I understand again what they're trying to go with that one. They have talked about the fact that they may allow you to, you know, kind of edit and override your starting lineup. One thing you'll notice when you start playing this mode is whatever team you pick, you're basically going to be locked into what their starting lineup is right now. For the most part, that's fine, but maybe there's a couple things that you want to change around. Like maybe you like the catcher that has a better arm who happens to be sitting on the bench or something like that. And there could be a reason why you'd want to start that guy versus, you know, have to, you know, put him in as a defensive swap right at the start of the game, which would be kind of a waste of him. So you've got some things like that they're working on. They're going to work on the ability to potentially do visual customization in the Pennant Race. Like I said, right now you're pretty much purely locked into these teams. I would personally love to be able to edit my team because it still shows the person I'm playing against, you know, the basic stats for some of this stuff. You know, like if the wide load stats don't change, and no matter what, I'm always, quote unquote, the wide loads, even if I change, like, you know, how my uniform looks or, you know, how my players look, it's not really going to change too much up on the guy. I mean, maybe at high-level competitive play, I could understand why you'd want to lock it, just because you don't want someone to have to sit there and hesitate on, you know, did he just completely, you know, change everything just to confuse you on who's the power hitter and whatnot that he needs to worry about. But obviously, like, it shows you a lot of this stuff on the screen. As far as a 5-inning versus a 9-inning game, there's a lot of different preferences, and they've been kind of evaluating ways to try to be more flexible. I actually think the 5 innings is pretty much perfect because it makes the matches pretty quick. And honestly, I like the fact that these games are not, you know, super long and drawn out. Like, I just played an hour and managed to get in 3 to 4 games. You know, that's fantastic. And I like that feeling. It's nice being able to get some quick gameplay in. It's a really good game to just kind of, you know, take a break and do some stuff with. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of stability issues, a little bit of smoothness, a little bit of lag, a little bit of all that stuff. Hopefully, they're going to work to be able to fix a lot of that. But, yeah, like, I'm really enjoying the game. I'm really enjoying the online gameplay. And if you have any questions about Pennant Race that I can potentially answer, just ask in the comments. But I mean, the gist of this mode is right now, a lot of it is still a little bit in flux. Obviously, the goal is to quote unquote win your division. The more wins you have, you know, relative to how many losses you have, the higher up that's going to go. It's not, you know, based off your ratio. It's more of baseball style. So, you know, if you have 20 wins and the other guy's 5-0, it doesn't matter that you're 20-5. You're still beating him. Which is kind of nice, to be honest, because it does reward people who actually want to play the game. And it doesn't make it to one of those situations where it's like, okay, well, I won my 5 placements. I'm never going to play again until they bump me up a division. So it's cool to see some of that stuff. I'm really optimistic on the direction they're going with things here. I honestly, genuinely think they're going to be able to fix a lot of the kind of common issues you're seeing. If you're looking for tips on how to play, you know, this mode, I'm going to actually be posting those shortly. I'm recording another video that's just going to kind of go over a lot of the mistakes I've seen players make. and a lot of easy fixes for them. Because believe it or not, like, I could just sit here and tell you, okay, you need to get better at hitting, you need to get better at fielding, you need to get better at pitching. That doesn't help anyone. Like, I mean, I could just generic say that, but unless you just suddenly have some kind of constructive feedback to work toward, I don't know what anyone would expect that to actually do. So that's not just going to suddenly make you better at the game, but there are some really minor things that you may be doing wrong that I can help you with that I think is going to make you win a lot more of your games. So, like, I've had a lot of success with this mode, despite the fact that I'm playing at 80 ego, and I think one of the guys I played against even told me he was playing at like 40, which is kind of bonkers. Like, that's a huge gap. So, I mean, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, this is barely fair. But I'm really, really optimistic on the direction they're going to go. And even with the fact that it feels a little unfair in some ways, I've been having an absolute blast with the game. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm really enjoying it. And I hope you guys give this game a chance. It is your Games with Gold game for Xbox One, and highly recommend checking it out. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for checking out this video, and later.